Welcome to this week's episode of the Aiming 5-Hole Podcast. Bill and Ryan here this week. Hey, Ryan, how's it going? What are we going to talk about this week?
Hey, Philip. We are going to talk about the Leafs and Habs as usual. Take a run around the league, a little news, injury updates, things like that.
We got to talk a little Four Nations Challenge.
Yes, the Four Nations tournament is going to be big. And then finally, if we've got a little bit of time, I'd like to talk about the early season American TV ratings.
Let's do it. Let's get into it. Where are we going to go first?
Hop it. All right, man. Give me your Leafs lowdown.
Wow. It's a busy week for the Leafs this week. You know, it's like Jekyll and Hyde with this team. It's just been so frustrating. You know, again, after 3 bad games to end last week and playing some dumb hockey, they started out the week beating the Jets. Then they went into, they came home to play the Kraken, played well again. And, you know, in both of those games, they had some moments, again, where they are still falling into old habits of just not playing 5-man hockey unit hockey and just not paying attention, playing like they did the last few years. Even against the Jets, after getting up big, they almost gave that game away. So, you know, it's frustrating to watch. And then this weekend, again, St. Louis, they came out hot on Saturday night, played really well in the first period. And then the second period, it was like, where did that down low checking speed hockey game go? And it was gone. And then before they know it, the game got away from them. And then tonight against that Minnesota team is tough. Have you watched any of them this year? That's a
haven't seen much of them.
Team. Oh
wow, they look like they're a tough team.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed. It was a good battle, and again, they had moments of playing down low, playing great. And then other moments where they just seem to forget how to play. And I would say the other thing, and again, losing an OT, and the OT, we'll get into OT in a second, but just the penalties that they're taking. They're the number one I think close to the number one penalized team in the league, which is crazy. And they can't score on the power play. They're at the lowest ranked power play in the league. I think they're like somewhere around 8%. They scored one tonight, which is great, but they've got to figure this out. They can't keep taking penalties and not being able to capitalize on the power play. They're playing dangerously at the moment. They're still a -2 on the year in terms of goals and for and against. And Stollart's again tonight stood on his head. So, but it's frustrating to watch. There's glimpses of the Berube hockey that he wants them to play down low, 5-man unit. And I would say that I wasn't a big proponent of Pacioretty, Tavares, and Nylander together, but it's been working. Like that unit,
it's working.
Yeah, Pacioretty and Tavares are going to dig the puck out, giving it to Nylander, and he's scoring. That's what should be happening. But
so in case our listeners don't know, whenever the Leafs and Habs are playing, we text back and forth constantly. And on any Leafs game, I think if I could sort of ascribe a numerical score to each one of your texts, like a very happy, positive, they just scored text would be a +5, and they just gave up a goal that was really stupid would be a -5. And then just sort of ascribing a score to all of your texts during a game and plotting out a graph of the line. It'd be kind of like, who's winning a presidential debate and that line going up and down above zero. Unfortunately, so far for this season, and by the way, this is kind of par for the course for you, no matter how the Leafs are playing. Like, it's going +5, -5. It is a sine wave the way this thing is going.
There's no in between for me at the moment. I've got so much invested in this team, and you know what? This is just years of and I say at the beginning of every year, it's a new year of hope and a new year of disappointment that's going to happen. And it's just, you want them to play, you want to see, again, we said at the beginning of the season, I want to see them play a different style of hockey. And there's been glimpses of it this year. Some really fun glimpses of seeing them play together as a 5-man unit, playing down low, checking, winning puck battles. And then all of a sudden, this team comes out the next period, and it's like the Leafs of last year, where they can't get out of their own end. They get just bogged down, making stupid plays, bad giveaways, and asking the goaltender to bail them out. And it's just so frustrating. And everybody wants this team to win because it's like a pressure valve in the city. And we've said this before. Like, if they do ever win the cup, the pressure valve in the city is just going to blow off, and the city's going to go.
Well,
But it's like, so I'm
Chicago
living.
survived it.
Yeah, I'm living this sort of ebb and flow every weekend, and I take it probably way too serious because I'm so invested. But you're right. It's like you're my vent. Like I can't vent to my family because they don't know. So you and Ron are my vents during the hockey games, and it's fun because you're off watching the Habs when they're playing, and I'm watching the Leafs, and we're going back and forth and telling the story. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's been one of those seasons where the glimpse is there. You can see the style that Berube is trying to get them to play, and when they're doing it, it's a thing of beauty. And when they're not, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
So back to you mentioned penalties earlier, and I was like, I wonder if there's some site that tracks statistics to a level of granularity where uh, you can see what percentage of a team's penalties are what I call fatigue or laziness penalties, hooks and holds.
Well, actually,
And
I know where you're going with this, and that's I don't think you were watching the same intermission was because the Habs and the Leafs were both playing Saturday night. Bietska actually had a good comment. He
Bieksa,
thought Bietska, sorry. He
no
thought
Bieksa.
Bietska, sorry. I told you you're gonna have to fix my pronunciation all season long. But he made an actually interesting comment. He didn't think that their penalties were a lack of effort. He actually thought it was a over effort, that they're trying to play a new style of aggression and playing hard nosed hockey and going a little bit too far
Right.
and taking it that extra step. And that effort, it's resulting in bad penalties in some cases, and maybe not some bad penalties, but that's what the result is happening. So he actually was talking about maybe they need to dial it back a half a notch. And that was an interesting comment.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but between the penalties and not being able to score on the power play, it's befuddling. They were a 35% success rate last year at times, and this year they're at 8%. It's just I don't know. I think I texted you either today or yet last night. I said I'd actually like them to go back to see them play a two defenseman power play unit.
Power play. You think that'll help?
I don't know. I think that with the four forwards out there, they continue to move the puck around and almost over movement. They're not taking the shots. And I think if you got two defensemen out there and they're moving around, the defensemen might be less willing to make some of the passes that Marner's making or Nylander's trying to make into these tight little spots where they might just get back to the core and get shots on the net. And maybe that would work. I know. Look at the NHL years ago, gone away from the 5-man unit on the power play where the two defensemen were out there with three forwards. I can't remember when we went to the 4-and-1, but I almost like to see them go back to basics.
Well, look, I think penalty kills have evolved to such an incredible degree. Like you can't have sort of traditional power play setup that doesn't involve creating sort of mini odd man rush. Like you've got to break down a penalty kill in a way that you've really never had to in the past. And I think that starts with player movement. And when I see a good power play, it's because the players are moving around and switching spots and creating confusion on the penalty killers. You can't just rely on fast puck movement anymore. It just doesn't result in the shots that you want. And it's not going to, if you're relying at all on getting an unscreened bomb from the point to start getting you your power play goals, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So, obviously it starts with getting it into the zone. And a lot of the power play issues I've seen with the Leafs are just horrible zone entry and they're not getting it set up.
Yeah.
But
they got to fix it.
They got to fix it. They got to fix it.
Oh, and Savard was brought in this year as part of Berube's coaching staff, and it's not resulted in success at the moment. But
no,
you got to figure they're going to figure it out. It's a talented team. Again, I just like to see them bring it back to basics, get a little more shots on net, get to the net. You've seen a little bit of that, and again, they scored one tonight, but it's a long season, and hopefully get there. But again, I think overall the week, again, showing those glimpses of playing that style that he wants to play. It's there. When they're not, they got a tough week coming up because they play the Bruins, I think Tuesday night, and they play Detroit, and then we got your Habs next Saturday night. So
Yeah,
we get a little
yeah, yeah, yeah.
rematch going on.
In
And next week,
Toronto.
next Saturday, you think the text chain is bad when we're not playing each other. Next Saturday night, people, I wish people could scroll our text chain next week.
Blood sport.
So how'd you think? How'd the week go for the Habs? Like I said, we texted on Saturday night, and I was watching the Leaf game, but during that intermission, the the panel was just taking the Habs to task.
They are terrible. And they're playing terribly, and it's really, really bumming me out. I mean, we were supposed to see a strong progression this year. I called them as a 500 team. What I hadn't counted on would be how fragile they are. And what I probably should have counted on was their defense got even younger than it was last year and the year before. And there's a glaring impact from that. Go back to the 22-23 season after 12 games. Okay. 3-9,
Yeah.
26 goals for, 45 goals against. 23-24 last year improved to 5-6-1 with 34 goals for and 40 goals against. This year, after 12 games, they are 4-7-1 with 33 goals for, about the same, and 50 goals against, which is worse than they were 2 years.
That's crazy.
It's absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, they're
and
minus 17 right now on the goals for and against.
It's crazy. And
got to be a league worst, isn't
it? Yeah, and just the number, like I said last week, man, the number of odd man rushes I'm seeing, the number of unmarked men in the slot getting easy chances, it's really disheartening. And it's got to be tough on the goalies because they're just getting assaulted. And then they come out after, giving up another 6 spot to the Capitals. They come out last night against Pittsburgh, and they're so nervous about making the wrong play that they can't generate anything. It was the least fun hockey to watch I've seen since the Pat Burns era.
What I found surprising was the panel going on, and they showed some clips, and I don't watch it with the same lens that you do. I watch the Leafs with that lens, but they were questioning their effort. And when you can question ability, you can question talent, but when they start questioning that they're actually trying in their effort, that to me was disturbing 12 games into the season.
Yeah.
They're already questioning their effort.
Yeah. Were they saying that during the Penguins game?
During the
Penguins game
Saturday,
and the Capitals game?
The Saturday night game.
Oh yeah, the Capitals game.
And they showed some clips from the first period of this, like, I think they were on the power play, and it was just like guys just going on changes and dogging. It was a little revealing in terms of to some of the things you've been saying in the text that you've been sending me of how disappointed you are because they've lost 3 in a row after they were a 500 team. And look, we've talked about it. They're a young team and they got a lot to go, but that young team, it's too early in the season to say this, but if they're showing signs to the experts that they're giving up, that's not good. 12 games.
That's not good. Well, first of all, like just compact the frame of reference a little bit more. Like that game against Pittsburgh on Saturday came after a bag skate practice. Like you would expect after a bag skate, a young team is going to come out and hit everything that moves and be the aggressor. They after the first period, they had less than half the amount of offensive zone time that Pittsburgh did. That's nuts. That's literally nuts.
And given the coach is offensive coach and offensive minded, has given them the freedom to be creative.
Yeah.
That's problematic. And Caulfield is off to a decent start. Like he's a shining star right now on that.
He's fantastic. He's great to watch in the offensive zone. The guy, I'm still going to continue it. Looking, he's a rookie. He's going to make a ton of mistakes, but I'm having so much fun watching Lane Hudson. I mean, the way he took out Sidney Crosby on a one-on-one challenge, it was 100%. He's smaller. He's younger and smaller, and but at the same time, he just used his body positioning perfectly on a guy like Crosby. He doesn't skate backwards on these one-on-ones. He turns around and he skates parallel frontwards, and he just did the most amazing job of getting underneath Crosby. Nobody gets underneath Crosby.
Nope.
That guy skates as low to the ground as anybody in the league. And Lane Hudson, maybe because he's 5'8", got underneath him and just bodied him off the puck perfectly. It was really cool to watch because everybody was really concerned about how his defensive game would translate to the NHL. So if I'm looking for a silver lining, it might be, you know, the two mighty mites on the team, Caulfield and Hudson.
Hey, look at Montembeault. Although they've gotten shellacked a little bit here lately, he's shown some signs of going to be a good netminder for them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when we get to the Four Nations topic because I'm not seeing it at this point. Anyway,
no, I actually have an idea in terms of the net, which we'll talk when we get there. It's something dawned on me the last couple of days that I think they should consider.
Well, let's go there now because
you want to go to Four Nations.
Let's go to Four Nations now because I'm really tired of talking about the Canadiens.
Well, I didn't realize, and February comes up so quickly in terms of because this is sort of in the Four Nations Challenge is sort of in replacement of the traditional All-Star Week break. It'll obviously be a bit of extended. Yeah, who cares about the All-Star Week? I think this is great. We need a best on best challenge. I wish there could be more teams. I think we said this before, but the teams, because it's in February, the teams have to be announced by December 2nd. So between November 27th and December 2nd, the full rosters have to be announced.
A few weeks away.
And it has to be rostered NHL players and active. So there's been a lot of talk over there about the experts in terms of who's going to make up the teams. And in terms of the other teams, I don't have a ton of, there's some guys you can go in and out, but I have been baffled a little bit by the experts' choices on the defensive side for Team Canada.
Okay. Who's baffling number one?
Well, I'm a Leafs fan. I love that the Leafs signed Tanev. He was what they needed this year. He's been great. He's been doing everything, shot blocking, being a beast out there and done some great things. But because he's in a big city and getting a lot of attention, they've been saying that he should be the seventh defenseman. I'm like going, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's a mystery. And that's a real mystery to me.
Yeah, and then when you look at who they've put on that defensive core and you see that they don't have Alex Pietrangelo on that roster, I'm like going, hold on a second. I'm a Leafs fan. I love that they got Tanev. But if you on the offseason had said for the same price you could have Pietrangelo or Tanev, I'm taking Pietrangelo 10 times out of 10 times. Like I don't it's not even a contest for me.
Yeah, there's got to be 67 defensemen ahead of Chris Tanev on that list. If not more.
I'm just baffled.
So who do they have on the short list so far?
Well, in terms of the short list for
on D.
We
know who the forwards are. That's not a lot.
I don't think there's a whole lot of choice on that side. Where did I put that? I sent it to you today, didn't I? Maybe I sent it to myself. Forwards. Here we go. I got it right here.
Okay.
So they've got Makar, obviously.
Yeah.
Morrissey and Makar are going to be the two offensive power play guys. Puck moving defensemen. You can't argue with that right now.
Yep.
They've got Bouchard, again, going to be a good offensive center. He's done enough in the last couple of years. He's actually not bad defensively. They got Tags again. I'm not sure Tags on defense.
Who?
From Colorado. Tags.
Devin Tags.
I'm not sure he belongs on that team either. Now they got Shea Theodore, which obviously have some great defensive. And they got Dobson. And I'm like going,
Noah Dobson's on my top pairing of that team, probably.
Maybe great, but
he's the best player on the Islanders. He's the most unsung player in the league, I think. I love Noah Dobson.
But where's Montour? Like, again, I'm not a big Montour fan, but
he's an offensive guy. He's okay, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I'd put him on that team.
So who? And the other problem is that.
What about
Letang? But again, you got to be careful being not too offensive. And
or old.
Makar and Morrissey and Bouchard are going to be that offensive threat. But what about a Doughty. Like Doughty's not healthy right now. I get it, but he's going to be healthy by
Will he be?
February.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. So, again, and it's you got to find a little grit on that back end. Where's the grit coming from on that back end?
Yeah.
Shea Theodore, I guess, but there's, I guess, Tags is a little bit gritty on that back end. But that's Peter Angelo to me isn't even a question mark. He's in the top three pairings on that team.
Yeah. What about Sam Gerard? Although he's all another puck moving guy, smaller guy, maybe.
Yeah,
I
I think in that you got to find a little grit back there.
Yeah.
Especially since
Maybe
we're
that's
going
what
to question mark
maybe that's
into
why Tana.
yeah, yeah, but then again, Peter Angelo and
Yeah.
Theodore, and they're actually played together in Vegas. And
Right.
did they play together in St. Louis? I can't remember if they played
Uh
together in St. Louis,
no, no,
but
Theodore didn't play in St.
yeah,
Louis.
no, he didn't. But they played together in Vegas. So you've got that, and you're going to be a little questionable in net. Although Binnington
Mm-hmm.
played great this weekend against the Leafs. Aiden Hill's a
I think
question
he's got to
mark
be
for
your guy.
me. He's got to be the
What
guy.
it just drives me crazy. Every columnist and anybody who's like covers the Canadiens is like, yeah, Sam Montembeault, he's got international experience, blah blah. His save percentage starts with an 8. Like,
Yeah, I
how do
think
you
you're
even
throwing him to
entertain somebody
fire.
like that?
Well, I think here's I think is the interesting piece, and this is why I go the other direction. Because where they're thinking is give the next generation some experience. I think it's what they did with Fleury. Didn't they? Wasn't who was the third goaltender in Vancouver in the last few when it was
I don't know.
Brodeur and thing?
It was
I think it
Price
was
and everybody else.
well it was Price was that goalie for a little while, and then Fleury was that goalie for a
Yeah.
little while. Got that. So I think they're thinking Montembeault would be give him some experience because he's maybe the next generation of goalie. I go the other direction because there's a question mark with Bennington's experience and Hill. Oh, he's sort of vanilla to me. I kind of think you put Fleury on that team as that experienced goaltender that's been through the trenches, who's going to be a
Maybe.
great in the team room. He's the third goaltender, but he's going to be in the change room. He's going to be on the ice during practices. He's going to be that team guy. Everybody seems to love playing with him. Everybody loves him. I think he could be that guy. It'd be that experience in the room and in the pinch, if you need him, he's there.
Well, the guy who's playing himself into the conversation is Kemper. He's been great for the Kings.
I suppose. But again, you think the third goaltender is not going to play a whole lot. So you want a
Yeah.
character guy back there, an experienced guy, a veteran that can really help the team. Because if
Yeah.
not, then you go the Montembeault side and you go complete rookie and give him some experience. To me, but you're right. Biddington right now for me is the choice to start. I
Yeah.
don't see any other way. But
Yeah.
I
And
just
then,
been
like I said, the Americans throw Hellebuck and Ottinger into the net, and we pray.
we just get you gotta hope we're just gonna score a lot of goals because we're
Yeah.
gonna give up a few. But that's why
Yeah.
you need some defensive prowess back, some experience back there, some good grit back there. Guys are gonna bang people around. Again, yeah, maybe Tannen's that guy, with this lineup, I just don't know how you don't have Peter Angelo in that lineup.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree.
But
Okay, so let's move around the league a little bit.
yeah, let's move
What's
around
going
the league.
on?
Well, what's
We
going
got a
on?
McDavid injury. Is there any like the league starts and stops with that, right?
They won their only game so far without him, and they're winning tonight.
Yeah.
I think they're up. They were up 2-0 before we started this thing. They're up 2-1 now against the Flames, and they're out shooting the Flames 20-15. So, they're actually playing decently without him so far. 2 games in now.
Yeah.
Some of the news that's been coming out the last few days, I don't know if you've heard it, is that because they were talking this could be a 3-week, 4-week type injury, and they're
Yeah.
talking that he's skating already and he's feeling pretty good, and he could be back next week some point. So it might
Don't
not
rush
be
it.
as long. Yeah, exactly. Don't rush it. Although there is some urgency there because they are just not. They're not
No, well,
doing
look,
it.
if they keep playing decently without him, the thing
Yeah,
is, the league is actually I can't say this for sure because I'm not as up on the Western standings as I am on the Eastern, but like there are only 4 points separating eighth and third in the Atlantic Division, and it's not that different in the Metro.
yeah.
Like
So right
you know,
now in the West, they would be sitting. They're actually only 2 points out of a wild card race.
yeah,
No,
Like
sorry, my apologies. They are, yeah, 2 points out of a wild card race. 13, they're 11 points to the 13 that Utah and Calgary
and
have.
how many points out of third place in the Pacific Division are they?
In the Pacific Division, they would be, and I see now make me going back and forth here. The Pacific Division, they are, out of the top three, there's 2 points. Vancouver's got 13
Yeah,
points as well. So
yeah.
they're
I mean,
only
this
two.
is
Yeah,
they can tread water for a bit, but
right, right. They're
as
so they're
long
not,
as
yeah, they're not too far out of it yet.
yeah, but
But
don't
there's
rush him.
but the style of play they're playing right now is dangerous because they're giving up too many goals and they're not scoring a ton.
Yeah,
They are amongst the league low in goals for 27, and they're amongst the league high at 37, 6 goals against. So they are, and they're -9. So it's not a great
yeah.
thing. And what's
Losing
going on?
Broberg was tough.
Yeah. And, yeah, Broberg is tough, and he got injured this weekend against the
Yeah,
Leafs, so hopefully he's not too bad. But he's been playing great for St. Louis.
yeah.
So was
That
Holiday
was a
too,
great signing for
by
them.
the way.
And the Barzal injury
Well,
in New York is a tough one too.
and Duclair's
Yeah,
gone. They're just saying long term. They don't even know how long he's going to be gone. So and they brought
oof.
him in to be their goal scoring. And then Barzell gone for up to 4 weeks. Pellick is
Alex out
gone.
for a while too.
Pellick, well, they've got 3 or 4 defensemen out right now. So they're talk about giving up goals and not being able to score many. Again, Islanders are right along there in terms of, plus minus worsts and not but look, we talked about this year.
Yeah,
They weren't going to be a team. We didn't think they were going to be a team that make the playoffs. And now add some really bad injury problems on top of that, and they're in trouble. So,
yeah,
and they're going to fall off pace pretty quickly here. But on the
yeah.
good side of things, if you keep going around the league, like to me, as much as I hate to say it, Florida 5 in a row, playing great. They're amongst the league leaders in goals for. Just they
I
just
know. I mean, what kind of contract is Sam Bennett playing himself into, right?
but Sam Bennett and Reinhart, who's leading the league in goals and points, like who thought it now?
Yeah,
He's going to be leading Team Canada in a
right.
couple months. So, he's been they're playing well. You've got Washington all of a sudden winning 3 in a row, and they seem to be going well. And lo and behold, Ovechkin scored 5 goals.
He's had 2 or 3 in the
Well,
last
he's
week.
he's
He's done.
scored 4 straight games, and he's got
Yep.
7 goals on the season. He's only 35 to the record. Like
Yeah.
we talked about, would he make it this year? Would he not make it this year? Probably
I,
not. He needed
I was
42.
worried about the long. I was worried about the long, painful trudge to the finish line, but no, it turned out to be the better option,
Yeah.
the more pleasant option.
Oh,
He's
he
he's
seems
firing
to
on all
seems to have
cylinders right
fun.
now.
Maybe he's jacked up. Obviously the Russians are not part of the 4 nations, so maybe he's trying to prove a point. We should be there, although obviously sanctions on
Or
the
he knows he's going
Russians.
to have, or he knows he's going to have a nice 2 week break in the
Yeah,
middle of
yeah, absolutely,
the.
absolutely. But so and then on the other side of things, you got Colorado after winning 5 in a row, now lost 3 in a row, and they've gone into a swoon. And then you said it last week. Was San Jose going to win a game? And they've won
And then they
three.
won 3 in a row.
They
They
won
won
three in
three
a
in a
row.
row.
So, it's been some interesting ebbs and flows this season as we going
Okay,
along
so on that
here.
point, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask: will the Canadiens win a game this week? Maybe that'll spur them to win 3 in a row. Although I think they've got Calgary, Jersey, and Toronto over the next week. So
Yeah, well, who do they got
I'm
this
not
week?
very. I'm not very. I'm not very optimistic.
Yeah, they got Toronto next Saturday, so that's going to be your and I's mini
Yeah,
Stanley Cup game one
yeah, that's going to
for
be
the
a
two
battle
of
royal
us.
over the text.
We'll
All
see,
right.
but
Well, I don't think we have time to talk about ratings this week. We'll save it for next week. Um, but uh, we should leave a minute or two at the end for any last thoughts about what are you looking forward to this week, other than the big Toronto Montreal matchup.
well, I'm just looking for some more consistency. For me, out of the Leafs in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think you need to see a little bit more of that Berube style play on a consistent basis. I think you need to take a fewer penalties, and I think they need to find a way to score on the power play. And those are the big keys for me. I think they need to consistency, take less penalties, and power play. I don't know if it's necessarily in that order, but I think for me, they got a tough week this week. They got Bruins first off. I think it's Tuesday night, and then they got Detroit Friday before. I think the game is in Toronto, but Toronto Montreal on Saturday night. It's going to be a fun week, and we'll see how they go. How about yourself? What other than you hope you win a game?
Well, no, I just want to see just a one or two confidence building games, like the right amount of aggression and risk taking, and the right amount of confident play and skill, and I just don't want to see the team founder and get even more fragile. It's just it's tough to watch, especially for such a young group of guys.
You do have a tough week. You got Calgary on Tuesday.
Yeah, Calgary, Jersey, and Toronto.
Sure, Jersey and Toronto. That's a tough week.
Yeah.
Especially with Calgary. Calgary slipped a little bit here, but they're still a tough team to play. And then you got Jersey is just fast paced.
They're very good.
Yeah, and then Toronto going to come in and just they're going to come into Toronto now. Not going to be in Montreal. It's going to be in Toronto.
Yeah, something tells me the Leafs aren't going to get shut out again. Just call it a hunch.
We'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun week though, and be another great week talking hockey with you, and we'll go at it all week, and then we'll get back next Sunday.
Absolutely, great. Phil, it's great talking to you as always, man.
Have a great week. Talk to you soon.
You too.